Hey folks, and welcome back to another one of my videos. I'm Brendan from Bluelight, and over the past several years I've been coaching and supporting people for the police recruitment process with a considerable amount of success. I'm guessing now it's almost 4,000 people have succeeded as a result of my support. So that's just, amazing. To have the ability to be able to impact on people's lives in such a positive way is something that was worth retiring from the police service for. So anyway, if you'd like to find a little bit more about those services, check out the links below to my online courses, seminars, one-to-one coaching, and especially my Facebook support group, which has now just tipped over 7,000 members. Just amazing. Okay, so what's this video about today? Well, I've had contact via my Facebook page from an 18-year-old who's still at college doing her A-levels, and the question she's asked is that she'd like to apply for the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship Scheme in September 2020. That's her aim, that's her plan, which means that she'll have to apply probably sometime this autumn to get into that intake. And what she's asking is, how am I going to be able to get through the assessment and recruitment process without the life experience that they might be looking for? And she's under this misconception, I think, that if you're 18, you're not going to be able to get into the police because you've not got the life experience they're looking for. And I say it's a misconception because it's not about age, folks. It's got nothing to do with age. Getting into the police is all about demonstrating that you've got the behaviours, the values, the qualities that they're looking for. And it doesn't matter what age you've developed those in, whether you're 18 years old or whether you're as old as my oldest client ever, who is 58. 58 years old. I'm not 58 yet, and I've been retired from the police for 6 years. 58 years old, and I coached and supported him through the recruitment process. He joined the Metropolitan Police for 2 years, had the happiest 2 years of his life, and then retired a happy man. Anyway, back to 18 years old. So how could you compete with a 58-year-old who's, in this case, this individual had been in the military, he'd owned his own business, he'd sold his business, he'd done voluntary work. I mean, how can you compete with him? Well, easily, because at the interview, they're going to ask you questions like, can you tell me about a time when you made a difficult decision? What skills and qualities do you bring to the service that are going to help support us? What values do you believe to be important? Can you tell me about a time when you've demonstrated those values? Can you tell me about a time when you've worked with others to solve a problem? Can you tell me about a time when you've challenged inappropriate behaviour? These are all the sort of questions you get asked at the interview phase. You may also get asked very specific questions at the assessment centre or the day one, the new version of the assessment centre. Especially in the assessment centre, you might get asked questions about code of ethics, integrity, how the police go about doing community engagement, how you'll be able to support them to do that. Look, there's 43 plus different ways of getting into the police because of the way the system is, and every force has its own unique way of asking questions. So I think that's what my client, she's not a client yet, but she might be, who knows, was getting at. How am I going to be able to answer questions like that? Well, I go all the way back to when I was a young 20-year-old applying for the police service. I dropped out of university, so that wasn't a very good sign, was it? And yet, at a time when they were accepting 1 in 40 into the Cheshire Constabulary, I got through the recruitment process. How did I do it? Well, I had a bank of experiences that I could rely on for the questions that were asked, which may not have been as complex as the questions that are asked today. But when I go back into my memory bank and think, what is it I did that made me an attractive prospect, despite the fact I dropped out of university halfway through a course? During my time at Sixth Form College, I volunteered and supported Amnesty International, so I did a lot of group work there. I also volunteered to help in a local school where I helped young people once a week achieve a standard of reading and maths. So I was like a teaching support assistant. We didn't have DBS checks and things like that back then. What else did I do? In my own personal time, outside of school, outside of college, I was a member of a youth group, a youth club that was run by one of the local churches. And when I hit 17, I volunteered to help support that youth group and help run it. So I became like a young leader there. I spent a little bit of time in the Scouts, not as much as I would have liked to have, and I did a lot of fell walking, so a lot of teamwork there, fell walking. And when I went to university, I took up scuba diving, continued with the fell walking, the mountain climbing, and also got involved in the reserves for the Royal Navy. So you see, throughout all of that, I've got this huge bank of experience that I could rely upon because I'd made difficult decisions, I'd had to work with others to solve problems. I don't think I ever challenged inappropriate behaviour. Not that I remember, but I don't think I ever got asked that question. I don't think inappropriate behaviour was something that was really important to the police back in the 80s. Actually, if anything, once I joined, I found out that inappropriate behaviour was almost a prerequisite. It was the amount of inappropriate behaviour that went on, the noble cause corruption. But anyway, that's subject of a different video. So, what can you do to help set your stall if you're 18 now? Well, get involved in stuff. You know, get involved in stuff at the college, whether it be sports, whether it be anything that involves teamwork, whether it involves volunteering at a local school or whatever it might be. One of the things that I highly recommend if you are 18 is getting involved in supporting homeless charities or being a street angel in some of the bigger cities that we've got. But wherever you are, there will be a charity supporting people who are homeless. A lot of my clients have done that. I've spoken to several homeless charities who would welcome you to come along, even if it's just 6 months to a year, with a view to supporting them, but also getting experience, life experience that's going to help you through the police recruitment process. Because what one of them said to me, one of the chairs of the charity said, it's absolutely brilliant that someone should come along for a year and help support us, because once they're in the police, they'll understand the needs and the problems that surround and the challenges that surround being homeless. They'll understand it far better because they'll have this great grounding, this great foundation. So that's the sort of thing I'd do, folks. Get involved in sports, get involved in voluntary activities in your community. On Friday and Saturday night, when your friends are out drinking mucky beer or whatever it is that they do, as long as you're 18, you will be out there on the mean streets of the cities and towns of this country, helping to support some of the more vulnerable people in society. See what you can do to get involved in the local police, either as a cadet or just attending local meetings and speaking to police officers and finding out more about what they do and how they do it. Immerse yourself in their world to the greatest extent possible. If you're 18, I wouldn't worry about getting involved in the Special Constabulary, because by the time you get recruited into the specials, you'll already be most of the way through the recruitment process to get in under the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship route. It's a great opportunity, folks. If you're 18, 19 years old, you're going to go to university while still being employed as a constable. For many forces, they're starting you off on 23,000 plus. That's a fantastic starting salary for an 18, 19-year-old. And you're going to be contributing towards your pension, and your degree is going to be paid for by the police. What is not to love about that? So it's going to be highly competitive. So my advice to my clients is to get out there, get that stuff done, get that experience under your belt. Start looking at the competency and values framework. Watch all of my videos that I've prepared on the CVF and how to answer questions, how to structure questions well, and practice. I mean, seriously, folks, practice, 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 practice. The hard work is in the rehearsal. So on the day of your assessment centre or interview, you'll absolutely walk it, because you'll have practiced so many questions and structuring your answers in a really good qualified way, using the SAL structure, which I've provided so many videos on in the past. But practice every day, and don't practice sat on a sofa. Practice in a dining room or somewhere where you can set up exactly what it's going to be like for your interview on the day. And you know, seriously, folks, how many times do I ask people at my seminars, how many of you are practicing on a daily basis? And out of 20 people, perhaps just 1 or 2 people put their hands up. Those 1 or 2 people who are practicing on a daily basis, I can guarantee that they're going to nail it. With my guidance and my support, they're going to absolutely nail it. But you've got to get stuck into that practice, folks. So whilst you are doing those activities that I've just described, please, 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 after you've done something that's really interesting, that really challenged you, that really made you think, oh God, that was one hell of a day, or one hell of a night, or whatever it was, that was really tough. Get your friends, your family, your loved ones to simulate the interview process and ask you questions like, can you tell me about a time when you've had to make a difficult decision? Can you tell me about a time when you've worked with others to solve a problem? Can you tell me about a time when you've supported organisational change? What skills and attributes and values do you bring to the service? What values are important to you and why are they important? Can you tell me about a time when you've demonstrated those values? There's a whole heap of questions that you could be asked, but practice them, practice them, practice them. Okay, that's enough, folks. I'll get off that hobby horse, I'll get off that soapbox, but yeah, hopefully you've got the message in this nice 10-minute video. If you've got any questions at all, please do let me know, preferably via the Facebook group, because if it's not me answering the question, someone else will probably beat me to it and answer the question on my behalf, because that's what happens. So hope you've enjoyed this video, hope you've got a lot out of it, hopefully it's impactful for you and you're going to take something away from it and start doing something with my guidance and advice now. Do something now. Now is the time, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, because that never comes around. Get stuck in now, take action now. Join those clubs, join those societies, get volunteering, start doing stuff now. Okay, soapbox over. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye for now.